The Canucks just made history as Abbotsford's Cinderella Story gets its happy ending with one player making a statement and leading the way like an MVP. And what this could mean for next year has huge implications for Manny Malhotra. We're going to break down all of that in this episode of Canucks Digest. But first, if you're enjoying this content and want to join the nearly 7,600 subscribers we have now on the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. We have a lot coming your way, especially with free agency and the draft that you won't want to miss. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is the Canucks are champions. So just now, the Abbotsford Canucks have won the Calder Cup and are champions of the AHL, winning their first Calder Cup in franchise history in their third season of existence, making an absolute statement on one hell of a playoff run, getting the victory in a 3-2 Game 6 win over the Charlotte Checkers. The Florida Panthers may have won the Stanley Cup, but the Abbotsford Canucks were able to steal it from them, so they didn't get a double championship, and now the trophy is coming over to Abbotsford. Great job for everybody involved. Amazing team win. Could not be happier for those guys and what Manny Malhotra has done with this season. And looking at the scoring, it wasn't a high scoring game. It was only a 3-2 game, but we had guys step up in big moments. After the game opened up 2-0 for Charlotte, we came firing back with Sammy Blais scoring his 6th goal of the playoffs, and then Kilmovich with his 4th, and then Linus Karlsson with his 14th, assisted by Arshdeep Bains with his 17th of the postseason, and no scoring in the third period as Artur Shilovs held the fort down to win the Calder Cup playoffs MVP. What an absolute statement, stopping 28 of 30 shots just in this game, and throughout the Calder Cup playoffs, he was an absolute unit. Amazing job to Artur Shilovs, amazing job to Linus Karlsson, amazing job to all of the Abbotsford Canucks that contributed on this amazing Calder Cup run. It was a long one, it was lengthy, it was 5 series of just non-stop bare-knuckled hockey, and it was amazing to watch. Great job for Abbotsford, making it to not just this point on Manny Malhotra's first year, but going over and getting the job done in stylistic fashion, proving that everyone wrong that, hey, these underdogs, they got what it takes to hang with the big dogs of the AHL, and just going to show that Manny Malhotra has done so much to get these guys ready, not just in big games with these playoff games, but also to make sure they can make that jump to the big club in Vancouver, like we've seen Linus Karlsson likely guarantee with this past season in the big club, and as well as this season within the AHL and in this postseason where he was absolutely lights out. And of course, Artur Shilovs, which this conversation is going to start getting very, very, very loud in Vancouver over which goalie are the Canucks going to probably move at the trade deadline for this season. Is it going to be Kevin Lankinen? Is it going to be Thatcher Demko or Artur Shilovs now that there is a lot of stock in him? However, with this, it goes to show that Shilovs might have shored up some parts of his games that got exposed in the NHL, and he's ready to make that jump again. Maybe not as a 1A goalie or a 1B goalie, but as a solid number 2 that could be a 1B on any other team that isn't the Vancouver Canucks because of the hefty goaltending that we have with Lankinen and Demko. The problem with that is Demko isn't necessarily healthy all the time. Very rarely is he fully healthy, as we all know. So within that, we've seen a lot of people and even us say that Demko would be the likely one to move on from, especially with all the upside that Artur Shilovs has. But what do you guys think about Artur Shilovs winning the MVP? Do you guys think it should have went to someone else, or was this absolutely deserved for Artur Shilovs to continue the arty party raging on? But with that, Abbotsford's historic run saw the team compete in 5 different playoff series. They started their playoff campaign with a first-round matchup against the Tucson Roadrunners, winning 2 games to advance to the next round. After they took down the Coachella Valley Firebirds in 4 games, the Colorado Eagles in 5, and the Texas Stars in 6. Finally, Calder Cup Finals, they defeated the Checkers in 6 games, absolutely steamrolling through these playoffs and just rattling off wins like they were nothing. The games that they lost, they were tight ones, and the games that they won, they were big ones or some really close ones, double overtime thrillers, some overtime thrillers, and some hard games that went down to the wire. However, within those big statement games, they were absolutely rolling through these teams, and absolutely in this Calder Cup final where they had some pretty big blowout wins to make a statement in winning this Calder Cup. And the AHL Canucks playoff run was marked by many clutch performances and point streaks. By far the biggest hero in this run was the Calder Playoffs MVP, Artur Shilovs, who started all 24 of Abbotsford's games, registering a .201 goals against average and a 93% save percentage. Linus Karlsson led both the team and league in the playoffs in scoring with 14 goals and 12 assists. You could have made a case for him as MVP, and even broke an AHL record for the most goals by a Swedish player in a single postseason. Fans also saw the young defensive core, Victor Mancini, who we're all really high on, Kirill Kudraitsev, who Patrik Allvin is very high on as well, and more take massive steps forward in their development. And all of this is to give the most props to Manny Malhotra and what he's doing. You see with Victor Mancini, he's going to be playing with the big club next year, getting some experience with Abbotsford to get his feet back under him after not getting a lot of playing time last year. Kudraitsev is another one as well. Linus Karlsson making a statement as to why he absolutely should be a full-time roster member, as well as Artur Shilovs, where these guys were battling it out basically for the Calder Cup Playoffs MVP, and it came down to the wire. It could be either one of those guys. I would have been happy with them getting it, obviously being Abbotsford Canucks players, but seeing that Artur Shilovs was able to just go out, make a statement, they gave it to the bigger name, obviously, but both these guys played their absolute asses off, and I can't wait to see what they bring to the big club, and we are definitely going to see Artur Shilovs get a lot more opportunities with the big club next season, and this is going to be huge with Manny Malhotra saying that we're not a storybook team. We grind and we work for what we get. This right here, this is what everything means to me as far as the Abbotsford Canucks season goes and what Manny Malhotra brings as a coach. He was asked that before the game 6 the other night, and he just was plain and simple about it. He wasn't going to sugarcoat it, and he said, yeah, you guys can call it a Cinderella story like we even did, but no, we were working our asses off, and we were just trying to get everything that we want to earn. We don't want anything given to us. We don't want it to be some dramatic story. We just want to go out there, play hockey, and earn every single step of the way. And I got to, again, props to Manny Malhotra coming in here, first year head coach, taking this team further than they had ever been in their short history, as well as getting not only to the Calder Cup, but also winning it. This was something that we were hoping for the past few months. When we'd be talking on here about the Abbotsford Canucks, everything was about Manny Malhotra being able to take this team the absolute distance in his first year as a head coach, and what that means as far as him potentially being the future head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, or just staying with this Abbotsford team and developing these guys into an absolute prospect juggernaut for the big club. But that leads us into our second topic of the day, which is what about Manny? Now the big question with all this is Manny Malhotra, in his first year as a head coach in the AHL, has won a Calder Cup. There's some teams out there that want a head coach and need a head coach, obviously. Dallas Stars, of course, being the top of that leaderboard. And there was a report that came out not too long ago about Manny Malhotra being the odds-on favorite to be the next head coach of the Dallas Stars. And with this Calder Cup win, I can't help but expect that he will be getting some phone calls from many teams around the league for a head coaching spot with a big club. And now that puts Vancouver in a very precarious situation. As far as the Adam Foote thing goes, I totally understand multiple reasons as to why they did it and why they shouldn't have done it. There's a few reasons as to why. Mainly, Quinn Hughes. You want to try and keep him here for as long as you can. You hire a coach that he's familiar with, he absolutely loves. Defensive coach as well, so he's going to make sure that defensive core is fully taken care of and not give him much to complain about from a defensive standpoint, and keeping that chemistry as well from what was left off with Tocchet. Then you also have the fact of the draft. The draft is coming up in just a matter of a few days. Obviously, Vancouver wanted a head coach before that draft process to make sure that they were included in everything. You can't necessarily do that if your head coach is also in the middle of a Calder Cup run. So that was where Vancouver's hands were a little tied here, where they probably saw that Manny Malhotra was definitely going to go on a deep Calder run, and they didn't want to have to just put all their eggs in one basket and wait around for him with the draft looming and try and sidetrack him or detract his attention with the draft as well as AHL playoffs. So with all that, I understand why they didn't go out and just promote him right away, or said that, hey, at the end of this, we're going to promote him. That might have been something over his head that he was thinking about. And as well as one of the things that I've also said on this show is that the Canucks' grand plan may only be for Adam Foote to be there for 2 to 3 seasons. See if you can lock down, maybe even 1 to 2, if I'm being optimistic or honest right here. If you're able to lock Quinn Hughes down for within those 2 years for even longer to keep him there, that's when you promote Manny Malhotra to the big club. Yes, that chemistry with Foote and Quinn Hughes is going to be tough to replace. However, if you wait 1 to 2 years, by the time that Manny makes that jump, a lot of these guys that just won a Calder Cup with him are going to be on the big club as full-time guys. Linus Karlsson, D. Petey, the Archer Shelovs, those are just a few to start off the bat. And then Kudryavtsev, Mancini, there's some other guys as well. Tom Willander will be one jumping in there. Jonathan Lekkerimäki, Arshdeep Bains. So within that, if Manny Malhotra can get all these guys playing their asses off in Abbotsford for 1 to 2 more years, if he stays in Abbotsford, he doesn't go to Dallas, the way that Vancouver is looking at that is going, okay, he's developing these pieces so that in 2 years we promote to the big club. When all the veterans that we have here are going to be a little bit weary about starting a new relationship, having a new coach in there, these young guys that are going to be in the locker room are going to go a long way towards winning over that locker room for Manny Malhotra, because those guys, those young guys will have so much trust in him that it'll be a little bit easier for the vets to get on that side of trust and for Manny Malhotra to have a big boost in locker room morale. But what do you guys think about all this? With Manny's quotes, do you think that he's staying in Abbotsford? Do you think that he's going to Dallas? Or do you think that he's going to get promoted to the big club in a matter of a few seasons? And do you think that Vancouver potentially missed an opportunity here to have Manny Malhotra signed for a long term? Let us know what you guys have to say about it down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you don't miss the updates when they drop. We're going to have a busy couple weeks coming up your way, guys, in the next couple weeks with the draft and free agency opening up and the fallout of all of that, so you won't want to miss it. So stay tuned for Canucks Digest for all of that. But with that, I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.